Ship launches are supposed to be a celebration, a moment of success for the builders and crew. But sometimes, things go wrong. Very wrong. In this video, we will look into the 15 of the worst ship launch fails in history. Some of the accidents were caused by human error, while others were simply bad luck. But all of them are a heart-pounding reminder that even the mightiest machines can't escape the clutches of Mother Nature. With that said, let's jump right in. Number 15. On number 15, we have the setting of the Scott Explorer's ship launch that is taking place in the Netherlands on October 11th, 2019. The scene is none other than the Royal Radu shipyard in Huygens, a place that seems to have its peculiar knack for ship launches that keep us on our toes, and not always for the right reasons. You won't believe what happened with that container ship during its launch. It's like something out of a movie. So, they were going for a slipway launch, like sliding the ship into the water on a ramp. A team of dedicated dock workers was engrossed in a task that demanded precision, extracting supports from beneath the substantial weight of the ship. It's a job that indeed requires steady hands and even steadier nerves. The anticipation is almost palpable as the ship glides into the sea. However, the hands of fate had other ideas. One of the stern ropes breaks, and the ship suddenly changes direction, and it isn't the graceful slide they expected. It was more like a speedy dash, a rush that surprised everyone, and the ship hit the water with such enthusiasm that it sent a massive splash of water onto the nearby road. But wait, there's more. With all that momentum, the ship had a tiny rendezvous with the corner of the road, leaving an undeniable mark on the ship's once pristine red hull. Ultimately, what started as a routine launch became a spectacle of sorts. Number 14. The scene was set for the arrival of a personal boat, which turned into an unexpected drama. With excited eyes on the horizon, a giant crane was being used to move the boat into the water slowly. Another crane stood nearby. Its job was to ensure the boat's weight and orientation stayed the same as it made its first trip on the water. It wasn't just any launch, but a moment when dreams came true, and a boat got its first taste of the open water. But the water level was a little higher than average, which gave the event an air of excitement. The boat was set up at a certain height from the shore, a height that was calculated to make it easy to get into the water. As the first crane gently held the boat in its arms, but in the blink of an eye, something strange happened. The crane was meant to be a smooth way for the boat to move, but it suddenly tipped backward, letting go of the boat. The boat crashed into the water, making a noise that made people gasp in shock. Worse of all, the crane's balance was so bad that it almost fell into the water. Luck stepped in during this time of chaos. The boat, surrounded by water, stopped the crane from going ultimately under. As onlookers held their breath, the driver of the truck with the crane on it was able to escape in the nick of time, preventing what could have been a terrible accident. It's an encounter that brings up both what-ifs and feelings of relief. What if the boat hadn't been there to halt the crane's descent? What if the driver hadn't escaped the truck's overturning? The potential for loss loomed large in terms of the boat and human life. Number 13. Now we have another one for you that's bound to raise eyebrows. A cement carrier launch that added a shocking twist to the playbook. This time, all eyes were on Norden, the cement carrier, as it took center stage with the slipway technique. You know that crafty maneuver where the ship takes a stylish dive down the ramp into the water? Sounds like standard fare, but Norden had other plans in mind. The colossal Norden was about to make its grand debut in the water. Slipway launches typically ensure smooth launches guided by meticulous engineering. But on this day, it's as if Norden decided to rewrite the script and steal the show. As Norden descended the ramp, it turned into a swift descent instead of a gradual glide, taking everyone by surprise. A splash flooded the nearby greenbelt and road when the ship met the water. Norden's launch became a topic of conversation in the vicinity. Number 12. Now let's take a journey back to August 2012, when a Russian millionaire had big plans, spending quality time on their swanky luxury yacht. They had dreams of sailing in style, but the universe had something else in store. A multi-million-dollar yacht hangs over a canal, a scenario that doesn't precisely scream smooth sailing from the get-go. Now, mind you, there's no audio to guide us, but truth be told, you don't need sound effects to grasp what unfolds next. The yacht shows off its not-so-graceful move, leaning in a way you'd probably find amusing if it weren't so darn unfortunate. But that's not the end of this aquatic adventure. What was the yacht's final resting place? Upside down, like a capsized ship in a pirate movie. The grandeur and elegance that once adorned this beauty are now submerged, the interior and main deck taking a severe hit. This story first made waves in Bloomberg in 2012, but here's the twist. It seems to have vanished into thin air. Did someone want to bury this story of waterlogged woe? Maybe it's a lesson that cutting corners and tossing responsibility overboard can lead to a mess that even the ocean can't wash away. All aboard the Chaos Train. Number 11. Now we've got quite another horrible launch to share. It's a mammoth cargo ship, still under construction, ready to take its first splash into the water. The crowd is excitedly buzzing, eyes glued to the ship as it inches closer to its watery debut. And then, it happens. A thunderous splash that could put a water park to shame. You'd think everyone would be over the moon, right? Well, they were until reality took a swift turn. The water that had everyone cheering decided it was on a mission, charging toward the shore with a vengeance. Let's keep it accurate. This wasn't a tsunami-sized wave, but it packed a punch. Imagine being caught off guard by a playful puppy. You might not expect it, but it can still knock you off your feet. That's exactly what happened here. A few unsuspecting people took a tumble as the water's surprise visit caught them off balance. But here comes the heartwarming twist. Towards the end of the video, you spot a brave family. Parents with not one but two young kids, including a baby barely out of the oven. Just when you thought it couldn't get more nerve-wracking, they keep their cool. The parents stand firm, not letting the wave throw them off track. Now that's some quick thinking, right? While this watery drama ended without any serious mishaps, it's like a little nudge from the universe, reminding us to always keep our wits about us. Number 10. This is no small boat. Instead, it is a massive ship. This giant is all decked up and ready for its first dip in the ocean, like a gigantic baby duck. Only this one is made of metal and other ship-like stuff. All the ropes are tied down, and the ship is ready to set sail. The ship begins its plunge into the water as the ropes are pulled, machines whir, or perhaps influential people flex their muscles. And that's when the plot takes an accidental turn. The ship seems to be heavier than planned. A colossal wave of water erupts, washing away wooden fences like matchsticks. Chaos breaks out right after this. However, this is when things get splashy. Riding the waves like reckless surfers, the uprooted wooden fences eventually reach their intended victims in the crowd. You can practically hear the shocked gasps when the wooden explosives enter the frame. And the camera person may be cursing themselves for not choosing a better vantage point. It's a thoughtful reminder that even the most meticulously planned events can take a detour into the realm of the unforeseen. And as for that ship, well, it might have made a slightly splashier entrance than intended, leaving behind a soggy but unforgettable memory. Number 9. Next up is a horrible one. A regular day at the shipyard in Jakarta, Indonesia's bustling capital, took a dramatic turn. A Coast Guard vessel was scheduled to be launched that day, marking what was supposed to be a smooth transition from dry land to the open sea. The plan was to roll the Coast Guard vessel along inflatable cylinders, guiding it gently into the water. A seemingly straightforward process until the ship had other plans. Something didn't seem quite right as the ship made its way into the ocean. Slowly but surely, it began to lean to one side, which instantly sparked alarm. The situation became increasingly severe as the ship continued her backward move, and it was very close to being a severe problem. The ship finally stopped with a loud bang, its nose still perched on the ground. It's important to remember that the situation was hazardous despite the slow pace of events. Sailors were on board as a crucial part of the ship's propulsion system. Some of the sailors were able to hang on while the ship floated dangerously on her port side. However, luck wasn't on everyone's side. Several sailors were flung into the water below, a sudden and involuntary plunge. The surviving sailors had to decide in a single second whether or not to jump amid the chaos. Some passengers decided to take a risk and jump off the ship as it came to an unexpected stop. A few people were injured in the incident's aftermath, which shows how dangerous and unpredictable these situations can be. The vessel itself, however, faced something outrageous. Despite the initial aspirations for a smooth launch, the shipyard deemed the vessel irreparable, marking its journey's end before it had begun. Number 8. Let's rewind to January 28, 2022 in Patani, Thailand, a day that turned out to be a nail-biter on the waters. A fishing boat needed some fixing, and 2 cranes rolled up to finish the job. One crane was all set to hold up the front, while the other had the sterns back. A coordinated effort to lift the boat out of the water, simple enough, right? As the cranes started their ballet of lifting, disaster crashed the party. The cables that were supposed to keep the stern in check snapped, leaving one crane with a mighty weight on its shoulders. And what adds to the scene is the boat's weight. It was a tad too heavy for one crane to handle, and that's when the other started falling towards the water. The crane operator in the falling crane made a quick decision. He jumped out just in time and landed on the dock. His crane, unfortunately, ended up in the water. During that scary jump, the crane operator broke his leg. But the story takes an affectionate twist when he is taken to the hospital. Showing the right kind of responsibility, the company covered his medical expenses. Number 7. In 2014, a $10 million boat was about to hit the water for the first time. There was a lot of excitement in the air when the champagne bottle hit the side of the boat. People cheered and the yacht started to go down the ramp toward the harbor. But oh, here, things get more complicated. How this beautiful boat was launched wasn't the best way to do it. This boat was heavy, and the way it was being brought down the ramp was, well, not great. Interestingly, the first person in charge of the project had already raised worries. They knew that the yacht's towering shape could make it shaky when it was being launched. It was like predicting rain on a cloudy day. So, get ready for a surprise. As soon as the boat went into the water for the first time, it did a beautiful somersault that no one saw coming. Most likely, you could hear the screams from miles away. But here's where the human spirit comes in. The team behind the launch rolled up their sleeves and worked tirelessly throughout the night. What were they up to? Well, they tried to set things right after this dramatic misstep, and succeeded. The weight used to keep a ship steady is called ballast. The amount of ballast on board is often the deciding factor in whether or not a ship would capsize in the event of an accident at sea. Ballast acts as a check on the ship's stability. Too much height above the sea puts a ship in the same precarious position as a tightrope walker without a net. That's what exactly happened with this ship straight after its launch. It was a recently rebuilt cargo ship, painted a bright new color and ready to make its public appearance as it glided out of the dock. The ship seemed gleeful and eager to flaunt its new, improved appearance. The engineers and shipbuilders who were the unsung heroes behind this revival stood proudly along the dockside, ready to be recognized for their efforts. The excitement before the ship's first voyage was considerable. But what the heck is this? The ship seemed to transform just before it set sail. The once sure ship began to doubt itself, and with incredible strength, it leaned to starboard in an unpredicted and quite embarrassing manner. Then, it kept leaning. It was a sight that would have drawn screams from even the most unmoved observers. It was discovered that the necessary ballast calculations got lost somewhere along the way. You can almost visualize the shipyard workers scratching their heads in confusion. Number 5. Let's get on to the next one that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. We're talking about a mighty ship known as the Reuben Lasker, a research vessel that was a big deal, owned and operated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Usually, these massive ships glide into the water on sturdy steel rails, right? But not this time. Someone decided to switch things up and use wooden rails. Things got uncontrollable as the Reuben Lasker geared up for its grand entrance, sliding along those wooden rails. The wooden rails, maybe feeling the pressure, decided to call it quits. The wooden rails, meant to hold their own, simply couldn't handle the enormous pressure. You won't believe what happened next. With a dramatic burst, the wooden rails couldn't keep up, sending a wave of water and sharp wood pieces flying in all directions. It was like nature decided to throw a surprise party, but there were flying chunks of wood instead of confetti. While the spectators were lucky to walk away in one piece, the scene wasn't without its share of drama. 2 people ended up with cuts on their bodies. Torsos and arms took a hit, but luckily nothing too serious. Another person got knocked unconscious when a piece of wood reached their head. Oh, that's cruel of the launch. Now you might wonder, who thought wooden rails were a good idea? It's like someone suggesting you wear flip-flops to a snowball fight. Definitely not the best plan. But it goes to show when it comes to the high seas. Surprises can be as wild as a storm in a teacup. Let's jump right on to number 4. We know there's always something new to see in the developing drama between cranes and boats. The complicated tango between these enormous things typically ends between messy and tragic. This particular scene starts with anticipation. The boat poised, the crane in position, and everyone holding their breath. The countdown begins, and the boat starts moving toward the water, a mix of excitement and tension filling the air. Then, out of the blue, the crane truck got out and bowed toward the boat. It twists, it turns, and suddenly it's clear that something's not right. The boat begins its descent, but the crane can't reasonably handle the load. The boat hits the water with a splash, and it capsizes. What was supposed to be a smooth launch turned into an unanticipated dive. When cranes and boats team up, it's like a gamble with destiny. You never quite know how it'll play out. From a poised launch to an unplanned water ballet, it's a lesson in the unpredictability of machinery and water coming together, often with a twist no one saw coming. Number 3, off to Russia we go, where a bunch of fearless guys are tackling a massive barge. They're playing a tricky game of lowering it into the water, and let's just say the barge seems to have a mind of its own. But here's the kicker. No one's freaking out. It's like they're watching a show. And then, the chains snap out of nowhere. And guess what? The barge decides to do a grand dive into the waves. But wait, it's not your regular splash. Nope. This barge goes for a full-blown Olympic-style dive followed by a spectacular flip. You should have seen the workers' faces. They're all like, nothing big happening around. Everyone's shouting in Russian, but who needs to understand the words when you've got all that excitement in the air? It's like Stranger Things going on between machinery and water, and Russia just threw in a wild twist. It was March 15th, 2014, and the River Thames in London was all moody, its waters rising unexpectedly. We've got a pretty confident captain setting sail on his pricey million-dollar yacht. Right after the grand launch, reality hits the captain like a ton of bricks. His oh-so-fancy yacht is heading straight for the Richmond Bridge. And guess what? There's an audience of sunbathers enjoying the scene. Talk about a picture-perfect moment for a significant mishap. In a desperate attempt, Captain Confidence thinks he can smoothly slide his yacht under the bridge. The water level rises 7 feet thanks to powerful currents. Not precisely yacht-friendly conditions, just visualize the panic mode. The captain tried maneuvering his vessel, but the current wasn't cooperating, and the yacht experienced a noisy crash. The bystanders couldn't believe their eyes. The water levels eventually calmed down, but not before leaving a mark on our captain's ego. He manages to sail under the bridge eventually, but not without leaving a little souvenir scratches and scrapes along the yacht's top and side. Let's rewind to August 5th, 2014, in Sarawak, Malaysia. It's a shipping company all set to launch their shiny new boat, excitement in the air, hopes high. It's one of those moments where everything's supposed to be perfect, but as luck would have it, things take a shocking turn. As the ship sits there, ready for its big debut, it's held in place by a few cables attached to the dock. The signal's given, and those cables snap like rubber bands, releasing the boat. It rolls onto the airbags, plunging its bow into the water. Cheers erupt. The launch is on track, or so they thought. Suddenly, the ship decides it's not satisfied with just the airbags. It wants to show off. It tips over, floating on its side like a giant rubber ducky. The crowd's mood goes from exhilaration to bewilderment in seconds. But wait, there's more drama. The ship starts drifting away, now on its side, and the crew scrambles for safety. They cling onto the railings, turning them into a makeshift lifeboat. Ultimately, what was meant to be a majestic launch becomes a spectacular fiasco. It's a reminder that even with the best plans, sometimes life throws a curveball that not even the most skilled sailors can predict. Do you have any first-hand experience witnessing such natural disasters? Do let us know, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.